we live in a society in the United States where everybody feels like they're a temporarily embarrassed billionaire. Like that riches are just around the corner, and if the dice roll of fate was slightly different, that they would be the ones that were up on the pedestal being showered in champagne. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. And I think that there's been like a very coherent move to make people believe that that's the case, that this explosion into vast power and riches is just around the corner. And I don't totally know. And I think I don't totally know where that came from. And I have a feeling that that belief is what causes people to have so much psychological friction about aiding the poor and social programs and the responsibility of government and government spending and everything else, because they're like, well, I'm going to be rich soon and I don't want to have my money taken away in order to pay for the kinds of poor people that I used to be. And so perhaps we should just abandon this altogether.
Yeah, I mean the lower income cohorts, they don't really have a voice. They've historically never had a voice. But what the post-war period created was a middle class, and particularly with the spread of public education, mass education, it created an educated middle class. But the problem was that the middle class were sort of seduced and bought off by mass consumption. So if you go back and think about, uh, America in the 1950s, with the mass advertising of all of the white goods, you'd be watching TV in America, in Australia too, by the way. But, and this ideal family would have all these white goods and big cars and boats, and we got seduced by mass consumption, the middle class, and that kept us, even though we were educated and we had a voice, that voice was channeled by mass consumption, and we became tied up in home mortgages, which meant that home ownership, which meant that we had to maintain stability of income, otherwise we'd lose everything. And of course, that led to the company man, the guy who would work for authoritarian workplaces and shut up because they had stable work, and they challenged authority, they'd lose out. So that mass consumption then gave way in the 70s to the sort of Milton Friedman trickle-down nonsense. And this is what you're referring to, this idea that, there was propaganda, Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, all of that book, and all of the think tanks were pumping this stuff out, that if you worked hard, you'd make it. And, this was an opportunity world, and that don't have envy for the rich, because the rich are where you're going to be, and the rich's endeavours are going to trickle down to all of us. And all you had to do is keep your chin up and work hard, and you'd get there too. And of course, the corollary of that is that if you hadn't made it by now, then you weren't trying hard enough, and that it was all on you. And so, a nomenclature emerged. And in Australia, for example, we started in 1974, the term dole bludger became really often used in the media, and you'd have these media companies, like Fox News type media companies, who would be outside poor people's homes, going through their rubbish bins, saying, "Look what they've been eating. Look what they're just living it up, and they're not working." And this dole bludger nomenclature, that you were just a bludger on unemployment income support, and you were living the high life on government support, and you weren't contributing. This is because, despite the fact there weren't enough jobs to go around because of the austerity, and not everybody could work anyway because there weren't enough jobs. But yeah, so that trickle down had incredibly powerful resonance in the way the middle class started to think about poverty, and just to